Meet Lee Ju-won. To the world, he's just another face in the crowd, an average dude in an average apartment. But his real job is way cooler and way more illegal. He's a rental hero, a professional body double for the world's superpowered elite. His superpower? Perfectly copying anyone's appearance down to the last detail. Which is great for business, but makes him totally useless in a real fight. While the real heroes are out collecting glory, Ju-won collects a fat paycheck. He's not trying to save the world, my friend. He's just grinding enough cash to retire by 50. This whole mess started 20 years ago, when superpowers began popping up like they were on a flash sale. Chaos took over, and villains started running rampant, having way too much fun. To restore order, the government passed the hero-villain law, sorting everyone into two teams. Use your powers for good, you're a hero. Use them for evil, you're a villain. Simple, right? And right now, a hero and a villain are standing in front of each other like two Wi-Fi routers fighting for dominance. The villain delivers a massive punch, but the hero is not having it, delivering a massive fireball to the gut. And of course, our hero stands victorious as the crowd goes absolutely wild. All of this is being live-streamed online, that everyone is watching, including a group of kids at a local bar. The guy is completely losing his mind. He beat that huge villain in one shot. That's a real hero. But as he keeps watching, he glances over at his friend, who's passed out drunk at the table. He asks, "Doesn't that hero look a lot like our buddy Kim Sunwoo?" Sunwoo just yawns. "Dude, I can barely move. I feel like puking. How could I be there? Smooth." Just then, a notification buzzes on his phone. His eyes snap wide open. Time to make an exit. Sunwoo abruptly stands up. "I'm going to the restroom." As he walks away, he checks a news report on his phone. It says the hero suddenly disappeared after saving everyone. How convenient. He slips into an empty public restroom and locks the door behind him. He holds up his phone and says, "I'm here." Suddenly, someone zooms into the restroom with a loud thud. It's the hero from the livestream. Sunwoo is mad. "Are you trying to get us caught? Take the helmet off." The hero tells him to chill out and removes it. And underneath reveals a shocker. They're sharing the same face. The hero boasts, "People love a mysterious hero." Then, he turns to his doppelganger. "Hey, will you change back already? Seeing you with my face gives me the creeps." The other guy sighs, and his body begins to crackle with bright blue energy as his entire appearance shifts. His hair turns black and his eyes glow blue, revealing his true form. He's back to being Lee Ju-won. Sunwoo then grabs Ju-won's face and gives his cheeks a good squeeze. He asks Ju-won if he scared off the girls at the bar, and Ju-won just laughs it off. This is clearly not his first rodeo. Sunwoo tosses him the envelope full of cash. "Okay then, make sure you iron the suit. Job done." Sunwoo stares after him thinking, is he a hero or just some punk? Ju-won quietly packs up the suit and puts on a black cap. He thinks to himself, I have a superpower, but just having a superpower doesn't mean anyone can be a hero. His thoughts drift to the OG superhero, a dude named Justice. He took on the supervillain, Nemesis, at his HQ, and it wasn't even a contest. Nemesis was completely owned. That day, Justice became the most popular hero on the planet, and the world opened up to superheroes. Which brings us back to our boy Ju-won, whose life couldn't be more different. I'll work like crazy, earn a ton of money, and retire at 50, he tells himself. Good plan, buddy. What could possibly go wrong? Suddenly, a series of loud thuds on his front door startles him out of his daydream. Annoyed, he gets up, yelling, Yeah, I'm coming. Keep your pants on. He peeks through, and guess who it is? It's Justice, the #1 hero in the world, standing right outside his door. Justice asks, Are you Lee Ju-won? Ju-won can only stare in shock. The hero cuts straight to the chase about his illegal job. Ju-won freezes. He's so busted. But Justice's next words are a total curveball. I'm here to hire you as my normal life substitute too. Ju-won is completely bewildered, but Justice reminds him it's against the rules to ask personal questions. As Ju-won looks through the files Justice brought, he notices something odd. There's no photo of you here though. In response, Justice reaches up and removes his mask, revealing a surprisingly handsome face underneath. Ju-won quickly agrees to the job. Justice tells him to start tomorrow and hands him a sleek black VIP card with an address. Before Ju-won can ask anything else, the hero is gone. He just stares at the card, wondering what he got himself into. The next day, he arrives at the address, a massive, ultra-modern skyscraper. He stares up in awe. Whoa, it's ginormous. He thinks about how Justice is a hero of the light, while he works from the shadows. He enters a huge, luxurious penthouse suite where Justice is waiting, sitting with his back to the door. Ju-won walks in eagerly. Let's get down to business. First, the confidentiality clause. But as he gets closer, he stops dead. Justice is slumped over in the chair, covered in blood. Ju-won panics. Is he dead? The #1 ranked hero? But who could have done this? Trying to calm down, he reaches out to check for a pulse. The moment his fingers make contact, blue sparks erupt from Justice's suit. A massive surge of energy explodes from the hero's body and courses directly into Ju-won. He screams as the electricity overwhelms him. The energy transfer is a little too much, and his hand begins to twist and contort. He screams, My hand? What happened to my hand? Justice is now glitching like a corrupted file, his face a mangled mess. That's his cue. He bolts for the stairs, knowing that staying will only drag him deeper into this insane mess. Sprinting through the lobby, Ju-won slams right into someone, sending coffee flying everywhere. Of all the people to run into, it's the hero Kim Sun-woo, and he does not look happy about the new coffee stain on his shirt. Ju-won starts to explain about his messed up hand, but when he looks down, it's perfectly normal again. The grotesque transformation is gone. Sun-woo couldn't care less. Enough of that. Do you know how much this cost? Suddenly, a sound from across the lobby cuts him off. He's interrupted by a flash of pink energy that slams directly into his side with a sickening thud. Seon-woo stumbles back. A black, smoking hole burned into his torso. A figure emerges, cloaked in green and surrounded by tentacles. You were flying all around on the news, the villain mocks, and yet, you're just a kid, huh? Ju-won's blood runs cold. A top-tier hero just got one-shotted right in front of him. I'll turn you into a crispy fried octopus, Seon-woo roars, his entire body wreathed in fire. He launches himself at the villain like a human missile, but the villain sidesteps with ease. His tentacles shoot out, pinning Seon-woo, but the hero unleashes a firewall, forcing them back. The villain's smile widens. In an instant, several more tentacles burst from the floor, impaling Seon-woo from all sides. The villain sneers, revealing countless more tentacles. Did you think I only had 4? How immature of you. He lifts Seon-woo's broken body as civilians scatter. Ju-won can't believe it. A top-ranked hero was defeated just like that. The kid hero's dead. He tosses the body aside like trash. He turns to the crowd. Now then, a tentacle whips out and a man's head goes flying. Yikes. Let's have some fun, shall we? The villain cackles, his tentacles poised to strike again. Ju-won watches the massacre begin, completely paralyzed with fear. He sees a flyer on the ground for hero insurance, and hears people whispering, praying that justice will save them. But Ju-won knows the horrifying truth. Justice can't come to save them. He's dead. He feels powerless. This is a real villain, and he's not a hero. There's nothing he can do. Then he spots a little girl crying, and of course, the villain notices her too. Instinct kicks in, and Ju-won screams, "Run!" But the villain's tentacle is already flying towards her. Without thinking, Ju-won moves, launching himself forward. "No!" he yells, even as his mind tells him it's useless. He's just an idiot who's going to get himself killed. Then, his eyes begin to glow with a brilliant blue light, and that strange energy crackles all around his outstretched hand. There's a blinding flash. A red-gloved fist slams into the tentacle, stopping it dead in its tracks. The villain stares in utter disbelief. Standing before him is justice. Somehow, Ju-won has transformed into the #1 hero, shielding the child from harm. He can feel an incredible power coursing through him. With a grunt, he tightens his grip on the tentacle and yanks the villain forward with unstoppable force. The villain screams as his limb is torn and mangled. Looking at the villain, he says, "I don't know what's going on here, but..." With a sharp snap, Ju-won strikes a heroic pose. He announces, "Under the jurisdiction of the hero-villain law, you shall be punished." So, after that epic hero landing, Jo-won stands there feeling like $1,000,000 in his new supersuit. He is literally crackling with so much energy, he feels like he's about to explode. But here's the kicker. This is his first day on the job. He has absolutely no idea what he's doing. The villain, nursing his wrecked arm, is not impressed. He just scoffs. "Don't get too excited, rookie." He brags that he's got tentacles for days, instantly morphing his mangled hand into a nasty-looking bone blade. With a roar, he lunges forward, sending a storm of bladed tentacles right at our boy. But to Jo-won's surprise, the whole attack feels weirdly slow, like he's lagging in real life. These supposedly deadly blades are just floating past him like they're moving through molasses. And that's when it clicks. He's not lagging, he's just that fast now. He can totally dodge this. The villain's jaw drops as Justice casually sidesteps his ultimate move like it was nothing. Before the baddie can even blink, Jaewon plants a superpowered fist right in his ugly mug. Bam! He then grabs one of the creature's own tentacles and uses him to redecorate the floor, slamming him down like a pro wrestler. Oof, that's gonna leave a mark. Yeah, the villain is definitely not having a good day. That face says it all. Jo-won can't believe it. He barely pushed the guy and sent him flying into a wall. This power is insane, but he realizes he needs to tone it down, or he might accidentally turn this guy into paste. Speaking of which, the villain staggers back to his feet, clearly not ready to give up. Seeing his opponent is still kicking, Jo-won gets hyped for round 2. Finally, a real villain fight. But as he powers up his fist, the energy just fizzles out. Poof. Gone. He looks at his hand in total confusion. The power's gone. What happened to his stats? And then it hits him. He's been nerfed. He can't control the transformation at all. This is bad. This is really, really bad. He is so dead. The villain sees his opening and charges, but is suddenly blasted by a massive yellow laser out of nowhere. The attack sends the villain flying, leaving a very confused and very relieved Jo-won standing there. Suddenly, a new player enters the game, landing gracefully on the scene. "Right on time," she says. She immediately runs over to Jo-won, gushing, "You're amazing, Mr. Justice. You knew I was coming, right?" She thinks he baited the villain on purpose so she could get a clean shot. She's giving him way too much credit. Jo-won has no clue who this girl is, but he just awkwardly plays along. Hey, a win is a win. As they're chatting, another figure appears from the dust. "You're as fast as they say," she remarks. But the tentacle villain isn't quite done yet, rising from the rubble for one last go. Max isn't having it. She just zaps him with another energy blast, finishing the job for good. She scoffs at the defeated villain, as if a low-level mob like you could ever take on Mr. Justice. Pathetic. But when she turns back, Justice has already pulled a Batman and vanished. She just wanted an autograph. The hooded woman tells her to get a grip and help the injured civilians. Watching the whole thing, the mysterious woman quietly mutters to herself, "Wait, Justice is alive?" Her eyes narrow as she spots a familiar face frantically escaping through a nearby door. It's Jo-won. She watches him run off with a very thoughtful and very dangerous look on her face. Later, back at his apartment, Jo-won is in full-on panic mode, trying to shred any and all evidence. His hands are completely numb from all the shredding. My guy is not built for this kind of manual labor. He bags up his shredded paper trail and heads downstairs to get rid of it for good. After dumping the evidence, he's left wondering what in the world he's supposed to do now. He's starting to realize just how deep he's in. Justice, the #1 hero, is dead, which means a monster is out there. He also panicked and transformed back in the middle of a disaster zone. He just hopes nobody saw him. A mysterious voice suddenly echoes from the darkness. "I did." Jo-won whips around, completely terrified. He's been caught. He frantically looks for the source of the voice. The voice just calmly replies, "Below you." A shadowy figure with glowing purple eyes emerges from his own shadow and trips him flat on his face. It's the hooded woman from the fight. "You're noisy," she says, looking down at him. Her shadow stretches out, and a pair of creepy, clawed hands reach right into the dumpster. They rip open the trash bag, sending his carefully shredded evidence flying everywhere. Staring in absolute horror, Jo-won can only stammer, "No way." With a flick of her wrist, she effortlessly restores every single piece of paper. "Now it's clear," she says coldly. Her eyes glow with a menacing light as she locks onto him. "You saw Justice die, didn't you?" She floats into the air, surrounded by a swirling dark aura. "Knowing that puts me in a very difficult position." Suddenly, sharp shadow tendrils erupt from the ground, and Jo-won barely manages to dive out of the way. He stumbles to the ground, eyes wide with fear. Okay, she's not bluffing. She is 100% trying to kill him. With no other choice, Jo-won summons his power, blue energy crackling around him as he transforms. The woman glares. If he's the one who killed Justice, she's not holding back. A bloody image of Justice's head flashes in her mind. Now fully transformed, he dodges her shadow assault. The attack pattern is pretty similar to the tentacle guy. His plan is simple. Dodge her attacks, close the distance, and then punch her really, really hard. But just as he gets close, his body starts glitching out again. His transformation is failing. He reverts back to his normal self, clutching his head in agony. Not now. Of all the times to get nerfed. A massive shadow pyramid slams into him, sending him flying across the pavement. The woman looks on, completely unimpressed. She was wondering who was brave enough to impersonate Justice. Turns out, it's just some worthless copycat. "How lame," she mutters, launching herself forward in a blur of dark energy. Even with his power failing, Jo-won smashes his powered-up fist into the ground, shattering the asphalt. He rips a huge chunk of rock from the ground and hurls it straight at her. But she's way too fast for that, easily dodging the massive projectile. A spike of pure shadow shoots past him, but he manages to block it with what's left of his rock shield. Jo-won shatters the crumbling rock and throws a desperate punch with all his might. She dodges just in time, but the close call actually leaves her looking a little surprised. Thinking he caught her off guard, Jo-won presses his advantage. He has to get in close. But as he throws the final punch, his body suddenly freezes mid-swing. He can't move an inch. "You did well, but this is the end," she says coolly. "You're in my domain now." Shadowy tendrils snake up from the ground, wrapping around his entire body. She lifts him effortlessly into the air, leaving him completely at her mercy. The shadow around his throat tightens, and he chokes, unable to breathe. But just as he's about to pass out, she lets him go. He collapses to the ground, coughing. He's completely confused. What's going on? Why did she stop? She walks over to him and grabs his face. "Are you planning to keep this up?" she asks. She makes him an offer he can't refuse. Forget the lame copycat act. "Will you become the substitute for the hero, Justice?" So, here's the sales pitch. This mystery woman explains that Justice wasn't just a hero, he was a symbol. If the world found out their #1 hero got taken out, it would trigger absolute mayhem. She needs a body double to buy her some time. Our boy Jo-won is, understandably, having a bit of a meltdown. He snaps back, screaming, "Hold on, you literally just tried to take me out. Who are you?" She just calmly introduces herself. She's Chrome, a hero who worked directly under Justice. Jo-won isn't buying it for a second, so she points to the documents she dropped earlier. He checks them out and finds her official hero profile. Well, looks like she's legit. Chrome clarifies that she was just trying to shut him up. You know, with a light bit of choking. Totally not murder. Then she drops the real hook. If he takes the job, the pay is 100 million per month. Jo-won's brain completely short-circuits. 100 million? That's life-changing money. He starts thinking practically. But how? What happens when everyone realizes I'm a fake? Chrome just tells him not to worry his pretty little head about it. She'll handle the details. He's still on the fence, thinking it's way too dangerous, but she's not done with her guilt trip. She lays it on thick. If Justice stays dead, every villain who's been hiding will crawl out of the woodwork. With the most powerful hero gone, they'll start an all-out war on the remaining heroes. And in that war, countless innocent people are going to get caught in the crossfire. She puts it all on him, asking what he thinks is the right thing to do. Yeah, no pressure. He knows she has a point. Justice's existence was the only thing keeping the peace, but he's terrified. He remembers the little girl and the promise he made. He can't let innocent people get hurt again. Still, he says nothing, trying to process the impossible choice he has to make. Chrome takes his silence as a no. She turns to leave, saying she asked for too much. She tells him she shouldn't have expected anything, and just gives him one last warning to keep his mouth shut. But just as she's about to walk away, Jo-won shouts, "Wait." He wasn't hesitating, my friend. He was calculating. He says considering the risk, 100 million is too low. With a massive grin, he hits her with a counteroffer. It needs to be at least 200 million, don't you think? Chrome cracks a smile. Deal. She just tells him not to back out later. 1 week later, Jo-won is absolutely drained, buried under piles of research materials. He's been grinding through the justice lore like it's a final exam. He's exhausted, but he's memorized a ton. Just then, Chrome shows up at the door. Let's go. It's time for his first day. They hit the road, with Chrome driving while Jo-won crams some last-minute notes. He asks a pretty smart question. Why are they hiding Justice's death from the other heroes? Chrome agrees that normally, that would be the first thing you'd do. But she says that's exactly why they can't. Jo-won is confused, but she just tells him he'll understand soon enough. The car screeches to a halt. They get out, and Jo-won recognizes the place instantly. It's a massive logistics delivery center. He asks why they're at a warehouse, and Chrome gives him a sly look. She says it only looks like a delivery center from the outside. She holds an ID up to a camera. A huge door slides open. Plot twist. This is actually the secret headquarters for all the heroes. Welcome to the atrium. Jo-won is completely starstruck, staring at a massive hall filled with heroes. Chrome explains that with so many trucks coming and going, it's the perfect cover for their secret base. Jo-won can hardly believe his eyes. It's like The Office, but everyone has superpowers. Chrome leads him over to a massive set of doors. This is where the real action happens. She tells him today is just for observation. His only job is to stay hidden and not screw anything up. As the doors open, she reveals that this is the main meeting hall for all the heroes. Inside are the key members of the 4 main hero teams, basically the senior management. And these guys are a colorful bunch, to say the least. Right away, a blue-haired woman named Haste is shouting, "Why is it our fault the villains are acting up?" A guy in a suit named Triumph points out that villain activity has spiked in her zone, so yeah, it's her fault. He adds with a smirk that incidents in other zones have actually gone down. Haste fires back that it's because his team is hogging all the resources. He just calls her bad at her job. Another hero, Novelle, chimes in that of course they invest in the team that actually makes money. From a nearby bed, a young hero named Arcadia scoffs. "And you call yourselves heroes?" Watching from the doorway, Jo-won realizes this is why Chrome is keeping Justice's death a secret. These heroes are a mess. Cutting through the bickering, a hero in massive armor named Zeus asks the real question. Where is Justice? A little girl with pink hair, Pandora, points out that it's been a whole week since anyone's seen him. Novelle smirks, pouring gasoline on the fire. Maybe the rumors are true, and he's dead. Haste warns him not to speak ill of their leader, but Novelle's not backing down. His own hands light up with power as he taunts her. Before they can throw down, a masked hero named Banshee unleashes a sonic scream. Quiet. She sighs, asking why they're all acting like children. She's clearly the mom friend of the group. Still, she admits they have to consider the worst-case scenario. Justice could actually be in danger. She turns to Chrome, who's been trying to blend into the wallpaper. Did Justice contact you? Chrome says that he just told her he'd be away for a while, but that's a lie. The voice comes from Pandora. Chrome freezes, completely caught. Pandora explains that she got worried, so she broke into Justice's penthouse to check on him. And then she drops the bombshell on the whole room. There was blood all over. Chrome is horrified, not just because the secret's out, but because this kid just admitted to breaking and entering. Zeus turns his glowing eyes on Chrome, his voice booming. Is that true? Everyone stares, demanding an answer. Chrome is completely cornered. Her lie has been exposed. The whole plan is about to go up in flames. But just then, a calm voice cuts in. It's true. And from the doorway, Justice appears. Of course, it's Jo-won, wearing a ridiculously confident grin. Chrome looks like she's seen a ghost. He strolls right to the head of the table. I'm sorry for my absence. I'll explain everything now. He knew that if he didn't do anything, their plan was toast. So now, staring down the most powerful people in the country, he makes a vow to fool every last one of them. Alright, let's wind back to before all that happened. Peeking through a crack in the door, Jo-won is getting a front row seat to the hero circus. He cannot believe these are the people everyone looks up to. Their public image is a complete sham. For a second, he thinks their total dysfunction might make his job easier, but he knows that's just wishful thinking. Suddenly, Pandora's voice cuts through the noise, and Jo-won's head snaps right up. She declares to the entire room, there was blood all over the place. Zeus immediately spins on Chrome, demanding to know if what the kid said is true. Caught red-handed, Chrome just stares back, sweating buckets and totally speechless. Busted. Jo-won realizes the mood just took a nosedive. The entire plan is about to go up in smoke. He clenches his fist. There's no way they'll believe Chrome now. It's time for the main character to make his entrance. Just as Triumph presses Chrome for the truth, a new voice cuts through the tension. It's true. And bam, in a flash of light, Jo-won appears, fully transformed into Justice. Arcadia, still chilling with his headphones on, just casually remarks, "Huh, he looks okay though?" Chrome is absolutely losing her mind, staring in total disbelief. Her internal monologue is just a loop of, what is that idiot doing right now? She knows that one wrong move from this guy, and his cover is completely blown, game over. But Jo-won is ready. Facing down the most powerful heroes in the nation, he feels a little nervous, but mostly confident. After all, as a rental hero, lying to people is basically his 9-to-5 job. He'd spent the entire week grinding, studying every single piece of footage on the real Justice. He has perfected everything from the confident stride to the commanding tone of voice. And he even nails the hero's signature, "I own this room" posture. The performance is flawless. Nivelle isn't impressed. "I don't get why you're so cocky even though you're late, but..." Start explaining why your penthouse looked like a crime scene and where you've been. Knowing they've seen the aftermath, Jo-won drops the bombshell he prepared just for this moment. There was an assassination attempt against me. The room immediately erupts into chaos, with everyone murmuring in shock. Haste leaps to her feet, absolutely screaming, "What?" She demands to know why he kept it a secret. He calmly replies that he had to move carefully. He then adds that he and Chrome had to investigate the whole thing in secret. Jo-won promises to share any new info. Internally, he thinks, alright, time for the counterattack. He turns his attention to the hero with the pink hair. "By the way, Pandora, who told you it was okay to enter my penthouse?" Pandora immediately shrinks back, stammering that she was just worried about him. He scolds her, saying her snooping will only make the investigation harder and tip off the bad guys. Pandora bows her head, looking genuinely guilty. "Sorry, I made a mistake." He dismisses her, calling her judgment disappointing. He feels a little bad, but hey, it ended the argument. But Triumph isn't convinced for a second. He calls the assassination story hard to believe. He questions how an incident this big could happen in the city without anyone knowing a thing. He even has the nerve to suggest it was all part of Justice's own master plan. Jo-won is stunned by the accusation, barely managing to deny it. Surprisingly, Pandora leaps to his defense, accusing Triumph of being the real liar. Jo-won is thankful for a second, but then Pandora starts criticizing him for being too soft-hearted. She rants that he's too worried about civilians, and that they should just kill all the villains. Yikes. Jo-won realizes these heroes aren't just dysfunctional, they're practically at war with each other. Finally, Arcadia raises a hand, cutting off the argument before it gets any worse. He acts as the peacemaker, suggesting they move on to the day's actual big announcement. The other factions reluctantly quiet down, though the tension is still thick enough to cut with a knife. Jo-won, still playing his part, just watches, sweating from the sheer stress of it all. After the meeting, Jo-won collapses in the back of a luxury car, totally and completely drained. Chrome just wordlessly hands him a soda. "Take this." "Good work," she says, taking a sip from her own can. Then she adds, "Except for the part where you improvised a whole new plot point." Jo-won cracks his can open with a smile. It's still better than them finding out Justice is dead, right? He asks why the heroes are so aggressive. Chrome says they stopped trying to understand each other a long time ago. She breaks down the factions, starting with the Guardians, who focus on civilian safety, like Justice and Haste. Then there's El Condor, the extremists like Zeus and Pandora, who just want to wipe out all villains. Next up are the Ubermensch, which is a fancy name for supremacists like Triumph and Nivelle. And finally, the Union, a group of selfish heroes like Arcadia and Banshee who only care about themselves. Jo-won sips his drink, thinking to himself that heroes are basically just politicians with superpowers. He changes the subject, asking, "So what kind of hero is Haste?" Chrome explains that Haste is the second in command of the Guardians. But more importantly, she says, Haste is the person who is most loyal to Justice. Jo-won reveals why he's asking. He noticed something was off about her reaction when he announced the assassination attempt. In a flashback, Haste looked shocked on the outside, but her real expression was cold and calculating. He points out that because his ability is all about copying people, he's super sensitive to those tiny details. He throws out the idea that she might be involved in this whole mess, saying, "You never know." Suddenly, the car slams to a halt, jolting Jo-won violently. Chrome casually announces their arrival, while a terrified Jo-won demands to know where they are. Stepping out, she explains that for years, heroes have just been suppressing the villains that Justice weakened. Now, she says, they plan to end it all with something called Operation Annihilation. As they stand on a cliff, Jo-won is horrified to see the entire city below them engulfed in explosions and total chaos. Chrome confirms that every hero group under the Guardians is participating, much to Jo-won's shock. Pointing at a literal war zone, she declares, "Justice needs to show up." All four major hero factions are launching a coordinated pincer attack, converging on a central park. Easy peasy, right? She lays out the plan for our terrified hero. Be the first one to arrive at the center and let everyone know through the comms. He starts panicking, shouting that there's no way he can just start fighting villains. He's a professional coward, not a hero. But Chrome knows his weak spot. She hits him with the magic words, "Don't you want the 200 million won?" She reminds him that Justice is the #1 ranked hero. If he can't even handle a one-sided beatdown like this, his cover is going to get blown eventually. She drives the point home. That money isn't free, my friend. He's going to have to actually work for it. The horror. Muttering to himself that he'd better get a bonus for this, he transforms into Justice. The things this guy will do for cash. With a surprisingly determined shout, he takes off running. He's not losing a single penny of that 200 million. And bam, he lands with a classic hero thud right in the middle of the war-torn city. All around him, other heroes are already locked in combat, unleashing some seriously devastating attacks on Monster of the Week villains. He arrives on the scene and can't help but be impressed. This is a complete and total steamroll. Feeling a bit useless, he's suddenly greeted by an overenthusiastic voice. It's Max, one of the heroes he saw back at the penthouse. She is absolutely furious about the assassination attempt on him, yelling about how corrupt it was. Yep, she's a genuine hardcore fan. Just then, a brutish blue villain with glowing eyes lunges right for him. Bad move, buddy. But even before she can react, she realizes the fight is already over. In a literal flash, Justice delivers a single, devastating punch that sends the villain flying. The monster crashes headfirst into the asphalt, completely knocked out cold. One Punch Man, who? Even Joan is shocked at his own power. He only used a quarter of his strength, but it was more than enough for these small fries. Max just stares at the defeated villain, utterly speechless. Her hero is even cooler than she imagined. Trying to act all cool and mysterious, Justice asks for her name. Startled, she introduces herself as Max Ray. He quickly brushes her off, saying he's busy, and dashes away before she can get any more fangirl on him. Almost immediately, two more villains ambush him, screaming for his death. These guys just don't learn. He casually blocks their weapons and sends both of them flying with a single, effortless push. This is just getting sad. Another villain tries to catch him off guard with a massive fireball. Oh, how cute. But Justice simply stomps the ground, raising a huge slab of rock to block the blast like it's nothing. He then punches the slab, sending it hurtling right back at the attackers. The villain is completely crushed, defeated without Justice even breaking a sweat. He's starting to enjoy this a little too much, but his mind flashes back to a seriously traumatic memory, the day his little sister was captured by a villain. Back then, he was completely powerless, unable to do anything as she cried out his name in pure terror. He looks at his hands, realizing he never knew he could copy a dying hero's powers. A bit late for that realization, huh? If only he'd had this power back then. Maybe he could have saved his sister, Siona, and his family. Chrome's voice snaps him out of his tragic backstory moment, warning him not to space out. He agrees and keeps moving. He steels himself. Now, he just has to use this insane power to help other people who can't help themselves. He blasts past two more villains hiding in the rubble, who can only watch in shock as he speeds by like a blur. One of them wants to give chase, but the other, a woman in a slick blue suit, stops him. She knows he's already at his destination. Moving at an incredible pace, Joan sees the park up ahead. He's actually going to be the first to arrive. Suddenly, a golden spear plummets from the sky, stabbing into the ground right in his path and forcing him to a dead stop. He looks up to see a massive, gladiator-like man approaching. The man greets him mockingly, honored by his little visit. Joan is confused, but Chrome's voice in his ear is filled with pure dread. Don't tell me, is it Caesar? She explains that Caesar is a notorious villain famous for hunting and killing heroes purely for sport. He's already claimed dozens of victims. Chrome's order is crystal clear. He is way too strong. Do not, under any circumstances, pick a fight with him. So Joan makes his own call. If he can't fight him, he'll just run right past him. A truly genius plan. But Caesar is impossibly fast. He intercepts Joan instantly, blocking his path with a massive energy blast. Before Joan can even react, Caesar slams a fist into his face, sending him tumbling to the ground. Dazed and confused, Joan lies on the pavement, completely outmatched. So much for that brilliant idea. Caesar cracks his knuckles, a wicked smile on his face. He reveals that trying to escape is a forfeit, because they're now trapped inside his two-person Colosseum barrier. Joan feels his body suddenly become incredibly heavy, as if weighed down by an immense pressure. Yep, this guy came nerfed. With no other choice, he begins to power up. He may not be able to control his transformation perfectly, but he has to try. Justice throws a punch, thinking this might finally be his chance to turn things around. But Caesar catches it with one hand, smugly telling him that weak stuff won't work inside his little arena. Before Justice can even pull his hand back, Caesar whips his spear around in a blindingly fast arc. The attack is way too quick. It slices deep into Justice's shoulder, drawing blood. Yikes. Caesar doesn't give him a single moment to recover, lunging forward with a powerful thrust. Caesar scoffs, "Seriously, is this all you got, Justice? I can't understand why they'd all tremble at your name." He brutally kicks Justice away, then spreads his arms wide, basically yelling, "You need to give this your all to go against me." Jo-won kneels, thinking he could win this easily if he just used all of Justice's power, but he's afraid it might undo his transformation. He worries that without proper control, he'll run out of power and get exhausted, but then he stops as a realization dawns on him. Seeing him hesitate, Caesar assumes he's being mocked. "Well, good for me," he grunts, deciding to just end this now. "I'll pierce this through you in one strike," he yells, lunging forward for the final killing blow. But this time, Justice doesn't even flinch. He calmly catches the spear with one hand. Just one hand. "You're right," Justice says, as a massive aura of crackling blue energy explodes from his body. Caesar's face just twists in disbelief. He's thinking, exactly what is this? And here's the lesson for today, folks. Most people's superpowers are like a glass of water that drains with use. But Justice's abilities aren't a cup. They are a vast, endless ocean of power. He realizes he's overflowing with energy and was a complete idiot for trying to conserve it like some mean coin. Caesar can only stare in horror, completely overwhelmed by this sudden, insane surge of energy. It all clicks for him now. The real Justice never had to worry about running out of steam. With this new understanding, he unleashes a devastating punch straight to Caesar's face. Boom. He follows it up with another brutal downward blow, completely overpowering the so-called hero killer. Meanwhile, Haste is getting seriously impatient back at her lavish office. She taps her fingers, asking her assistant if there's been any word from Justice. Her assistant notes he's unusually late, casually wondering if he ran into the hero killer Caesar. You know, just a small detail. Haste doesn't buy it for a second. Annoyed, she stands up and declares she's going to check on him herself. And back in the fight, Justice's punch connects with a mighty crunch, sending Caesar stumbling backward like he just got hit by a train. Caesar is in total disbelief. His helmet is literally cracking and melting from the sheer power. He realizes this isn't the same guy he was fighting. And he's right. Jo-won has a big brain moment. He'd always try to control this power, causing it to fizzle out. Now, he's just gonna let it rip. The two warriors face off again, clashing in a furious exchange of high-speed blows. It's just a blur of light and sound effects. Justice smashes through his guard and lands another devastating punch right on Caesar's head. That's gonna leave a mark. Reeling, Caesar cannot believe he's being overpowered. Refusing to accept this L, he decides to double down on his ultimate move. He unleashes another attack, but Justice just casually blocks it. Caesar smirks, thinking our boy has slowed down, and lunges in for the final blow. Instead of dodging, Justice powers up his fist and meets the spearhead with a direct punch. Caesar's face is pure, unadulterated shock. And snap. The spear shatters on impact. Justice's fist keeps going, smashing through Caesar's helmet as the villain screams in denial. The force of the blow sends Caesar flying through the air, crashing hard onto the pavement, completely out cold. Talk about a one-punch finish. Panting, Jo-won breathes a sigh of relief. He admits he only went for it because he knew he couldn't dodge in time. Smart or just lucky? His victory is short-lived, as another explosion rocks the city. He spots other heroes causing massive collateral damage, like it's their job. One of the stray blasts hits a skyscraper, and a massive chunk of debris starts falling right towards him. Of course it does. His first instinct is to run, but he glances back at the unconscious Caesar, realizing the debris will turn him into a villain pancake. He argues with himself for a moment, thinking Caesar deserves it for trying to kill him, but his hero conscience just won't let him do it. Cursing his own kindness, he rushes back, carries the villain, and makes a desperate leap to safety. What a guy. He thinks he's clear, but the debris field is way bigger than he expected. He braces for the impact, but nothing happens. It's Chrome. She's appeared out of nowhere, creating a massive energy shield that protects them from being crushed. Talk about a dramatic entrance. Jo-won is relieved, but Chrome is absolutely furious. "You helped a villain?" she asks. "Are you out of your mind?" He nervously tries to explain himself, even suggesting that this is exactly what the real Justice would do. Dude, that's not helping. That was the wrong thing to say. Caesar, who was just playing possum, snaps his eyes open and takes Chrome hostage with a blade to her throat. Jo-won panics, but Chrome is completely calm. "See," she says coldly, "this is what you get for saving a villain. She's not wrong." She orders him to prioritize capturing Caesar, the villain's leader, even if it costs her her life. Now that's commitment. Caesar threatens to kill her, but Jo-won's expression hardens. "No, don't," he says, taking a defiant step forward. And before Chrome could even blink, something whooshes past her, and Caesar is gone. Triggered by a flash of a painful memory, Jo-won grabs the stunned Caesar and just slams him hard against a wall. Holding the villain by the face, he reflects for a moment before declaring, "I should be the one to clean up the mess I made." Chrome lets out a sigh and gives an order. "Quickly, send them the signal." With Caesar finally taken care of, Jo-won suddenly remembers he has a job to do. About time. He quickly taps his earpiece to report in. "Justice here. On behalf of the Guardians, I'm at the target location." So professional. But inside, he's just happy to be making bank, laughing about how hard it is to earn 200 million won. This guy and his money. Meanwhile, Chrome reflects on the fight. She knows Caesar is skilled, and Jo-won shouldn't have been able to win. Did his skills somehow grow that fast? She had him pegged as just a money-hungry punk, but now she's starting to think there's more to him, maybe. Jo-won peers closer at Caesar. Looks like he's not breathing. Well, that would be an anticlimax. Unknown to them, someone has been watching them from a distance. It's Haste. A voice in her ear tells her Justice just sent his arrival signal. Yeah, I saw it myself, she replies coolly. Behind her is a rooftop covered in the bloodied corpses of villains. Holy smokes. As she watches Justice and Chrome from a distance, she gets a weird feeling. Something strange. Justice looks wiped out from the fight. Chrome points out he looks like a zombie, and he admits he's about to die from exhaustion. Turns out, going all out with his powers without any limiters was a great idea in the moment, but now it has totally drained his battery. Yeah, he's definitely gonna have to find a better way to manage this. Chrome hits him with a surprise compliment, saying it is amazing he could use the powers so well on his first try. Jo-won is immediately suspicious. Why is she being so nice all of a sudden? Then she asks the big question. So, did you try it? Jo-won remembers his little theory. If he could absorb Justice's power by touching him as he was dying, maybe he can do the same thing with these dead villains. He figures it is definitely worth a shot and kneels down beside the corpse. He reaches out, his fingers crackling with energy as he goes in for the touch. But instead of a power-up, he gets hit with a massive wave of backlash. He tells Chrome he felt a reaction, but he could not actually absorb the power. It felt like some kind of firewall just bounced the energy right back at him. Chrome theorizes maybe he can only hold one power at a time, or that Justice's abilities are just too strong to share the space. Either way, they both agree it is way too early to know for sure. So, changing the subject, Chrome tells him he worked hard and deserves to have some fun. He asks if there's a party or something. Of course, there is, she says with a smirk as the doors swing open. Jo-won looks inside and is completely stunned. It is a massive victory celebration for the heroes. The moment he walks in, he is mobbed by heroes cheering his name and congratulating him for defeating Caesar. They are even joking around, asking if he is going to put them all out of a job. Our boy is just stunned, thinking about how much faith these people have in the real Justice. He grabs a huge mug of beer. Drink, of course, he yells, raising his glass as the crowd roars. But not everyone is celebrating. Triumph and Nivelle are discussing outside the doorway. Nivelle scoffs, calling the celebrating heroes a bunch of hyped-up clowns. He asks if Triumph is not going to do something about their attitude. Triumph just brushes it off, and Nivelle asks if he has some kind of plan for them. Triumph just smiles cryptically. I don't know, he says. Rather than calling it a plan, it is more like their smiles will go away on their own. The next morning, an alarm clock blares at 7 a.m. in a luxurious skyscraper penthouse. A hand slams down on the snooze button. Jo-won wakes up with a splitting headache, groaning on a massive bed. He thinks back to the party, realizing the drinking capacity of heroes is no joke. He sits up and takes in his new surroundings. This is where he will be living from now on. Whoa, this place is insane. He wanders through the enormous living space, wondering if this is just normal for the #1 ranked hero. Then it hits him. He quickly pulls out his phone. His bank account balance reads over 2 billion won. He is ecstatic. Whoa, I have made it. I am successful, he shouts, completely overcome with joy. But his celebration is cut short as the grim reality of his situation sinks in. This does not just end with him getting the money. Justice was assassinated. He pulls out the covert autopsy report Chrome gave him. The report says there were no traces of injury on the outside. He was not poisoned either. The only clue is that at the end, he frantically used his powers. Jo-won stares intently, wondering what in the world happened that day. Just then, he hears footsteps. Thinking it is Chrome, he decides her timing is perfect. He turns with a smile. Hey, I was just looking at the autopsy report you gave me. But it is not Chrome, it is Haste. And Jo-won completely freaks out. His mind races. Why is Haste here? And why is she coming in like it is totally normal? Haste calls out, Justice? I heard your voice, are you here? She walks around the high-backed chair he is hiding behind. What are you doing down there? Thinking fast, Jo-won instantly transforms and does a push-up. I was just warming up, he says coolly. And she totally buys it. Training the next day after the party? As expected of you, Justice. While she is distracted, he kicks the incriminating autopsy report under the chair. But how come you are here without notice, he asks. Haste's expression hardens. You said there was another assassination attempt against you. You need to talk about this with someone. Ah, so that is why she was not surprised at the meeting. Constant assassination attempts are just another Tuesday for the real Justice. Suddenly, Haste's demeanor changes. Still, she says, stepping closer, and she leans right into his chest. You are so mean for not telling me anything, she says with a pout. Jo-won is completely flustered. What is this? She looks up at him with a tender expression. We decided that you would call me Yanwoo when it is just the two of us, didn't we? A horrifying realization dawns on Jo-won. Do not tell me these two had some sort of a relationship? And just like that, Jo-won's brain short-circuits. Hold on a second. Haste isn't just a colleague, she's Justice's girlfriend. He's mentally flipping through the files Justice gave him. This little detail was definitely not included. Did he forget, or just not care? She looks up at him wondering why he's acting so weird. My guy is completely frozen, no idea how to handle this. He tries to cook up an excuse. Sorry, Yeonwoo. He tries to play it off like he's just not used to calling her that yet. Smooth. And what do you know? It actually seems to work. She cracks a little smile. She even admits she was a little mad he used her hero name. Phew, crisis averted, right? Wrong. Before he can even breathe a sigh of relief, Her hand moves to her sword. Whoosh! In a blinding flash, she slashes him right across the neck. She stands over him, her voice ice cold. I almost thought you were the real Justice. Ju-won is stunned, not just by the attack, but by the coffee table behind him, which is now perfectly sliced into pieces. She points her blade at him. Before we talk, let's start by cutting off an arm or two. So meet Haste, folks. She's the vice captain of the Guardians, Justice's own team. And yeah, her special ability is exactly what you think it is, super speed. She's on him in a heartbeat, a literal blur zipping around the room way too fast for him to even see. All he can do is watch as she becomes a whirlwind of destruction. Her power is officially identified as Speedster. She's dicing up the furniture like it's a cucumber salad. Ju-won can't believe her insane speed and skill. She sheaths her blade for a split second, then bam, she dashes right back at him. Okay, our boy has had enough. His powers flare to life. I told you to stop. He just barely manages to block her sword with his forearm, knocking her back. She studies him, unimpressed. She notes that while he looks like Justice, he's wasting way too much energy. Ju-won snaps back that it's the only reason he's not armless right now. But yeah, he knows he can't keep this defense up. Knowing he's on a timer, he decides his only option is to go on the attack. He smashes the floor and lunges. Haste just looks bored. She figures it out instantly. This is how he beats Caesar, with nothing but pure, clumsy brute force. She dodges his punch like it's in slow motion and slices his side, telling him his power is useless if he can't control it. She warns him to stop blocking, taunting that she could literally hit him anywhere she wants. She tells him to just give up, but he's not going down that easily. In a blur, she dashes in and smacks him in the chest with the hilt of her sword. As blood hits the floor, Haste starts playing mind games, saying that he's too fast for her to land a real hit. He sees a fake opening and takes the bait, grabbing her wrist to finally counterattack. He swings with everything he has, sending her flying back. But something feels off. He's not even sure if the attack actually landed properly. Oh, it landed all right. A bright red print is now stamped on her face, and she is absolutely furious. How dare you when you're just a fake? Getting a very bad feeling about this, Ju-won decides to press his attack while he can, but she vanishes. He only sees a blur as she reappears and slices his shoulder open. The time for games is over. An arm or two won't be enough anymore. She plunges her sword into the floor, unleashing her ultimate move. Flow of the wind blade. 1,000 cuts. Suddenly, invisible blades fill the entire room, slicing Ju-won from every angle as he screams in pain. He looks down in absolute horror as a blade appears, just about to chop his arm off. But then, tendrils of shadows shoot up from the floor, blocking the attack in the nick of time. Haste freezes. Ju-won is just as confused. Where did that come from? And look who it is. Chrome emerges from the shadows. You're still a lunatic when it comes to justice. Haste turns to her. So you're behind this? Explain what happened. Your shadows won't stop me from getting to... Chrome finishes her sentence with a sharp gaze. Justice. Then Chrome drops the bombshell of a lifetime. Justice was murdered. Haste can't believe what she's hearing. You mean, Justice is dead? And he's just some substitute. A little while later, a fully bandaged Ju-won sits awkwardly on a bed. Well, it just turned out that way. Chrome explains they had no other choice. Justice's death would have created a massive power vacuum. But Haste is not having it. Do you have any idea what you've done? She points right at Ju-won. Even with his powers, he's way too sloppy. How long do you think this act will last? She warns that he'll be exposed in no time. But Chrome calmly says this whole thing is just to buy them time. Ju-won finally speaks up, his voice dead serious. They need that time to find out who killed Justice and why. Haste argues the killer will just come after him next. But Ju-won coolly replies, no, he won't. Or rather, he can't, he continues, looking sharp. Because only we know that Justice is dead. That shuts both of them up. A stunned Chrome can only manage one word. What? She demands to know how he can possibly be so sure about that. Ju-won lays out his galaxy brain logic. The assassin announced the kill, but there was zero public reaction. Therefore, the killer has to assume he failed. Simple, right? Okay, maybe it's just a theory. Even Ju-won admits he can't be 100% sure. And Haste, she is completely, totally, 100% over this conversation. In fact, she's so over it, she just turns around and walks out. Not another word. On her way out, she glances back at Chrome and says, "You're gonna have to clean up after him. Ouch, that's cold." Our boy Ju-won looks like a kicked puppy, whining about how much Haste hates him now. But Chrome tells him not to worry about her. She explains that Haste was basically Justice's #1 fan. She was the most loyal and dedicated of all his followers. Finding out her idol is dead and this faker is wearing his suit? Yeah, she's not processing it well. Then Chrome lays down the real stakes. Without Justice, the fragile peace between the hero factions will shatter. They'll just become superpowered gangs. That's why they're doing this. This whole lie is to let heroes stay heroes, and to give the world some hope. And finally, it clicks. The single brain cell in Ju-won's head fires up, and he understands the weight of it all. He leaps up, suddenly full of confidence, bragging that he can fool everyone again. Sure you can, buddy. Sure you can. But their little pep talk is cut short by a buzz from Chrome's phone. Looks like it's time for his second task. Next thing we know, Ju-won is suited up as Justice, awkwardly sitting in a cafeteria while other heroes whisper about him. He leans over and whispers to Chrome, asking what the secret mission is. Her deadpan reply, "They're already doing it. This whole thing is a PR stunt. After the assassination attempt, they need to show the world that justice is perfectly fine." Chrome tells him to get used to being in the public eye, especially since today is something called the Hero OT. She gestures to a massive crowd of powered-up individuals. It's the official recruitment day for new heroes. Today, all these newbies will decide which of the 4 major factions they're going to join. As she finishes her noodles, Chrome adds that this is a way bigger deal than some college club fair. Jo-won immediately starts panicking, asking what he's supposed to do. He's already dreading another villain fight. Chrome simply stands up. "Let's go," she says. "I'll tell you when we get there." They arrive at a gigantic stadium, absolutely packed with heroes. Jo-won is so stunned he's just standing there with his mouth open. He can't believe how many heroes are here. It's way more than the meeting from before. So, what's his super important role in this epic event? According to Chrome, absolutely nothing. Yep, she tells him the strongest person doesn't need to show off. He just has to sit in the middle and look serious. Easy enough. Jo-won leans back, a little disappointed. "This is more boring than I expected. Spoke too soon, my friend." In the stands, all the major hero factions are gathered, each with their own cheering section. Jo-won notices that some factions are way bigger than others. Chrome explains that since most heroes want to get rich, the idealistic Guardian faction is pretty small. Just then, Haste shows up to rain on the parade. She glares at Jo-won and says, "Don't delude yourself." She makes it crystal clear she's just playing along. She still despises him for replacing her hero. Suddenly, a voice booms over the speakers. The event is starting. Down on the field, 2 heroes face off for the opening match. It's a showdown between Guardian and Ubermensch. One lunges forward with a fist covered in rock, but his opponent dodges with a cocky smirk. The pink-haired hero counters with a glowing palm strike. Bam! A shockwave of energy sends the other guy flying backwards. Not bad. The hero with the green gear gets back up, his arms now completely encased in solid rock. The gauntlet glows again as he dodges another attack. Jo-won is confused, but Chrome tells him this is all for show, to promote their factions. Jo-won figures it's just a friendly match. "Oh, you sweet, innocent boy." Chrome's expression says it all, and she's right. The pink-haired hero grabs his opponent's rock hand and brutally crushes it. Bone and stone just shatter. Jo-won instinctively jumps to his feet, horrified. Chrome immediately yanks him back into his seat, reminding him of his one job, do nothing. He argues that this is just straight-up harassment, but she shuts him down. It's a sanctioned competition, and even justice has no authority to intervene. Powerless to stop it, Jo-won can only watch as the one-sided beatdown continues. Down in the ring, the Psycho is standing on the other guy's mangled hand, taunting him to surrender. He smirks, getting ready to finish it, but something stops his arm dead in its tracks. Both Haste and Chrome are completely stunned by the sudden intervention. What just happened? We get a flashback of Jo-won with his younger sister. She's asking if he's going to the atrium, the place where all the heroes are. She wants to go too, but he promises he'll take her with him when he goes. They seal it with a pinky promise. She beams, saying that with all the heroes there, she'll be totally safe. Back in the present, that memory fuels Jo-won's resolve. He's gripping the bully's gauntlet, reminding him that people trust heroes. "Don't you feel any shame?" The entire stadium is silent. Justice is standing right there in the ring. The pink-haired hero looks up, completely annoyed. "Why are you butting in?" he sneers. "Are you siding with him because he's a guardian?" The injured hero just clutches his bloody hand while Justice stares down the bully. "I'm telling you to know your limits," Justice warns. But the guy just scoffs at him. "And what will you do if I don't want to?" The punk challenges, a smug grin spreading across his face. "My friend, you are about to find out." Suddenly, raw power surges from Justice's hand, effortlessly blocking the other hero's attack. The cocky hero boasts about his power, which is amplified by his gauntlet. He threatens to send the washed-up Justice flying. He tries to activate his power, but nothing happens. Instead, his gauntlet starts to crack and crumble under Justice's insane grip. Whoops! Justice stares him down. His voice is cold as ice as he throws the bully's own words right back in his face. "All you need to do is raise your right hand and surrender. Or is that something you can't do?" Oh snap, that is the ultimate comeback. And with a little squeeze, the pink-haired punk starts screaming his lungs out. Ouch, that's gotta hurt. But wait, what's this? A party crasher. Another hand grabs Justice's arm, forcing him to release his grip. Oh look, it's Triumph, and he is not happy. He asks if a big shot like Justice should really be butting into a kid's fight. Triumph's hand starts crackling with some nasty red energy. And, kaboom, he blasts Justice backward before our boy even knows what hit him. Triumph walks up all cool and collected. "You should fight someone at your own level." And just like that, the crowd goes absolutely insane. Are you kidding me? Justice versus Triumph. This is the main event, folks. Meanwhile, Haste is in the stands having a panic attack, yelling for them to stop. Chrome, on the other hand, just sighs. She knows this is bad. See, here's the problem. Our boy Jo-won only has one setting, nuke everything. He can't fine-tune his power at all. And against a pro like Triumph, that's basically a death sentence. Jo-won tries to talk his way out of it, but Triumph just hits him with a, "You're wrong." With his eyes glowing red, he says his dignity is on the line. "Sure it is, my friend." Welp, so much for talking. Looks like a fight is unavoidable. Fine. Justice decides to go full throttle, powering up with that classic blue energy and throwing a massive punch. Bam! It lands right on Triumph and does absolutely nothing. Triumph just catches his fist like it's a softball. Looks like you really want to do this, he sneers. Uh-oh. As Triumph holds on, Joan feels his power getting straight up siphoned away. Triumph just grins. Now it's my turn. He unleashes a point-blank energy blast that sends Justice flying across the arena. Justice staggers back, his arm tingling. What in the world was that power? He throws another punch, but Triumph just blocks it with some kind of energy shield. Triumph is clearly having the time of his life, countering with another blast. And then it hits Joan. Triumph isn't just trying to win, he's trying to kill him, and he's using Justice's own power to do it. Triumph is laughing like a maniac, calling him pathetic as he launches a flurry of attacks. Justice is getting completely overwhelmed, just taking hit after devastating hit. Up in the stands, Chrome knows exactly what's happening. Triumph's special ability is absorption. He basically eats any attack and spits it right back out at you. So, no matter how hard Justice hits him, he's just gonna get that power thrown right back in his face. Yeah, this is what we in the business call a one-sided beatdown. Justice is exhausted, barely able to defend himself while Triumph floats around taunting him. Even the crowd is starting to get restless, wondering why Justice is on the ropes. Joan is kicking himself. He got cocky, and now he's paying the price. He should have just listened to Chrome. But as Triumph dives in for the finishing blow, something snaps in Joan. Screw it. If these guys get to call themselves heroes just because they have powers, he'll use his own strength to shut them up. He meets Triumph's charge head-on, and boom. A massive explosion of red and blue energy rocks the stadium. Triumph smirks, thinking this is just another free power-up. Big mistake. Justice's raw power is too much for him to handle, actually pushing him back. Joan's got a new plan, and it's brutally simple. I'll just unleash so much power that you won't be able to absorb it all. Triumph roars, but he's completely swallowed by the insane wave of raw power. The sheer force of the blast tears the entire arena to shreds, sending rubble flying everywhere. The shockwave rips through the stands, and Haste has to shield herself from the debris. Chrome watches in disbelief. A second ago, Triumph was winning. Now he's barely hanging on. She realizes with horror that if this keeps up, they're going to level the entire city block. Suddenly, the ground beneath them shatters. Both heroes stop, completely stunned. Joan feels like he's suddenly wearing a suit made of lead. He can barely even stand. Then, some dude in sandals calmly walks onto the battlefield. Are you planning on destroying everything? It's Arcadia from Union. And with a single gesture, he's got both of these powerhouses pinned to the ground. Arcadia just waves his hand dismissively. Stop making a fuss and end this here. Just like that, the pressure is gone. Justice can move again. Triumph, ever the sore loser, just scoffs and walks off without another word. What a guy. So Joan is left standing in the wreckage, wondering if he went a little overboard. Just then, someone calls his name. It's the hero he saved earlier. The guy feels awful, thinking this whole mess is his fault. He bows super deep, thanking Justice for everything. And Joan, our socially awkward hero, just tells him not to worry about it. Surrounded by a bunch of other heroes, Joan is completely speechless. They rush over, totally starstruck. They're all like, "That was amazing," and "You're the best, Justice." He looks out at the roaring crowd, and you can see the pressure getting to him, but he can't back down now. He forces a smirk and thinks to himself, "That's right, it was good enough. Fake it till you make it, right?" Later, back at the team penthouse, Haste slams a report on the desk. Joan, now in his regular clothes, looks up. "What's this?" Haste explains it's a report on new hero recruitment. He picks it up and his jaw hits the floor. Chrome walks in, telling him that while he did prevent a tragedy, he also single-handedly caused an utter defeat for their faction. Their recruitment numbers have tanked, while their rivals have gone through the roof. Whoops. Juan just stares at the paper, completely floored. He asks, "Is the difference always this bad?" Haste just gives him a flat no. She explains that since their hero got wrecked and the villains are basically a joke, nobody wants to join their team. Ouch. Haste lays it all out. If this keeps up, the super influential Ubermensch faction is going to completely take over. Our boy Juan doesn't seem to get the gravity of the situation, so Chrome has to spell it out for him. Again. See, Ubermensch is a ruthless group of chads who will even team up with villains to get what they want. It would be a total disaster. Joan thinks for a second, then drops this bombshell of an idea. Then why not make an alliance? Genius, I tell you. But Chrome immediately shoots that down. Apparently, all the other factions are completely useless as partners. She admits the Union faction has some potential, but it's a long shot. Unless, of course, they had someone on the inside. Juwan's eyes light up like he just had the best idea in human history. Huh? What? Then it's easy. He pulls out his phone while Haste demands to know what he's talking about. He just mutters that handling two people at once is intense. Chrome's brain just short-circuits. She stammers, "You don't tell me." Both of them lean in, expecting to see the contact info for some secret agent. The tension is real, folks, but nope. It's just his calculator app showing 2 billion. With a massive smirk, he says, "I'll serve you for the price of one Justice." Suddenly, we cut to a massive, absolutely wild pool party, the kind you only see in movies. A DJ with shutter shades is getting the crowd hyped while some ladies are sitting by the pool just chilling. Watching all this chaos from a balcony, Jaewon turns to Chrome and asks the most logical question. Why are we here? Chrome points out their target. Meet Wilhelm, the number 3 hero in the Union faction, our man of the hour. She explains that unlike normal factions, Union heroes are ranked entirely by their popularity. Basically, they're influencers. They barely do any actual hero work. Instead, they throw parties every single day to build up their social network. What a life. There's a big vote happening today, and Wilhelm is a key player. Jaewon's face lights up with a wicked grin. So I just have to manipulate the voting, right? Chrome looks a little worried, asking if he'll be okay and what his master plan is. He just gives her this sly look, saying it's not exactly something he can brag about. And his grand plan appears to involve a woman with red hair in a black bikini. Ah, the classic honey trap. Back on the balcony, Jaewon just smirks. Everyone has their know-how. Chrome looks completely lost. Down at the party, someone spots their target. Oh look, it's Wilhelm. The crowd goes wild. The man himself arrives, a blonde hero with his shirt wide open, soaking in all the attention. Wilhelm grabs a mic and gets on stage, asking if everyone is having an awesome time. Of course they are. He starts hyping everyone up, saying that heroes shouldn't just be saving people all day. You know, the important stuff. He proudly boasts that he parties every single day, and the crowd just eats it up, laughing and cheering. Let's go crazy till the morning, he yells. The partygoers roar back in absolute agreement. After his big speech, a man with silver hair meets him while the crowd chants his name. The guy suggests maybe Wilhelm has had a bit too much to drink, but Wilhelm just brushes him off. The night is young. He drunkenly turns to the guy. He complains, who the heck wears that to a party? The man just coolly replies, I'm just here as your escort. Can't argue with that logic. Wilhelm whines that his partner is no fun at all. He wishes he'd been assigned a pretty new female trainee instead. And right on cue, the red-headed woman bumps into him, accidentally spilling her drink all over his chest. He totally freaks out, yelling about how expensive his shirt is. The horror. The woman puts on her best innocent face, apologizing and saying she drank too much. She offers to wipe it off, and his mood changes instantly. He laughs it off, saying it's no big deal. But she insists, touching the stain on his chest. No, I want to wipe it off for you. Then she leans in close and whispers, somewhere a bit more quiet. Oh, it is on. A massive sleazy grin spreads across Wilhelm's face. Well, if you say so. As they walk away, he gives his escort a little wave, telling him to hold down the fort. The silver-haired man just watches them go, his face a complete blank. You can't tell what this dude is thinking. The woman leads Wilhelm to his suite, and he is clearly expecting a very different kind of party to continue. But just as he asks how they should get started, her arm starts crackling with bright blue electricity. Before he can even figure out what's happening, she clocks him right in the face with a super-powered punch. Bam! Homie's soul left his body for a quick vacation. He collapses to the floor, knocked out cold. She just looks down and says, thanks for letting me in. And then her form flickers, revealing it was our boy Jaewon in disguise the whole time. I knew you'd fall for this trick. With Wilhelm sleeping like a baby, Jaewon gets to work searching the suite for the conference tablet. He finds it and is pretty surprised by the security. Eye recognition and even fingerprint recognition? Fancy. He morphs into Wilhelm to unlock the device. Problem solved. He logs into a video conference where a guy named Arcadia greets him, surprised that he's so early. Jaewon, still disguised, texts that he's at a party. Arcadia just asks if he knows what the vote is about. Turns out, the vote is to decide if Union will work with the Guardians. And voting power is based on popularity. Yep, Jaewon is annoyed. You vote based on how popular you are? He cannot believe these guys run their faction like a game show. But then he remembers Chrome saying that opinions in Union are probably divided. He smirks, realizing Wilhelm's votes are more than enough to completely swing the result his way. The votes are all cast. As Arcadia prepares to announce the results, he just stops cold. His eye widens just a little bit. He tells the others that the result is a bit unexpected. You can say that again, my friend. Jaewon is sweating bullets watching the screen. Then Arcadia just dismisses everyone and ends the call. Abrupt. Mission accomplished. Jaewon lets out a massive sigh of relief as his disguise finally fades away. He meets back up with Chrome, who is waiting for him outside. She calmly asks him how it went. Jaewon flashes the biggest, proudest grin you've ever seen. How else? I proved I'm worth 2 billion won. Meanwhile, back in the suite, the real Wilhelm wakes up with a killer hangover, completely clueless about everything. He tells his escort he drank way too much and cannot remember a single thing from the night before. Not a thing. He's bummed he missed out on the fun, but hey, at least he's sure he made it to the important meeting, right? His aide questions him about it, and Wilhelm, still hungover, confidently claims he voted himself, with his own name and everything. He vaguely remembers showing up, voting, and then leaving. All the important details are a complete blur, but his bigger concern is that woman he met. Did he get her number? Before he can think about it, his aide gets his attention, and the aide's expression turns deadly serious. He demands a list of everyone who was invited to yesterday's party. Uh-oh. But while Wilhelm is about to have a very bad day, Jaewon is busy upgrading his life. He's packing up his cramped apartment, wondering if he really needs all this old junk. See, since he's playing the role of Justice, he gets to move into the hero's lavish penthouse. Talk about a glow-up. He knows Haste wasn't totally convinced by his act, but he's just got to keep the con going. He figures most of his old clothes are cheap anyway and starts digging through. But as he's sorting through his stuff, he finds something he totally forgot about. It's a framed photograph of his family. Ah, look at them all. He gets a little sad, thinking his little sister Sion would have gotten a huge kick out of seeing him as Justice. And just then, the frame slips right out of his hands. The main photo falls out, and the picture slides out from behind it, zipping right under his bed. Annoyed, our boy gets on the floor to fish it out. But just as he reaches for it, the ceiling above him cracks, and then boom, it explodes. He just looks up in total shock. What just happened? A little later, he's trying to explain the insane event to Chrome. He's like, I'm telling you, it really happened. To prove his point, he grabs a pen and just casually crushes it in his hand. Snap. Chrome is actually impressed. She thinks he might be tapping into Justice's real powers, and they're starting to awaken. She explains that superpowers are like muscles. The more you use them, the stronger they get. Time to start grinding, Juwon. She thought he could only copy appearances, but it looks like his potential is way bigger than they thought. With that bombshell hanging in the air, Chrome tells him it's go time. Juwon transforms into Justice for the big meeting. The video call connects, and it's a who's who of top-tier heroes and faction leaders. Arcadia apologizes for calling in from his car, but Nivelle just wants to get this over with. Nivelle gets a smug look on his face, bringing up the main topic, how to assign the heroes. But before he can even make his point, Arcadia completely shuts him down. Arcadia just states, Union will support the Guardian's stance. Boom. Nivelle is stunned. Arcadia calmly explains that his faction voted to hunt down the rest of the villains, and he has to respect their choice. Before a furious Nivelle can even argue, the big man Zeus cuts him off. Zeus, who is literally standing on a pile of bodies, crushes a villain's head and asks Nivelle why he's so against catching bad guys. Nivelle argues it's a waste of resources since they already blew up the main villain base. But Justice jumps in, saying they need to pull the villains out by the roots so they can't grow back. With others siding with Justice, Pandora even teases Nivelle, asking if he's on the villain's side now. Cornered and completely outvoted, all Nivelle can do is seethe in silent rage. Trium finally steps in to end the debate, stating that since they can't win the vote, they'll go with the Guardian's plan. Haste complains about all the political drama, but Juwon is just relieved his wild plan actually worked. Back at the apartment, Chrome is just staring at the massive hole in the ceiling. She says this is serious. Juwon just shrugs it off, saying he'll pay for the damages while sweeping up the mess. He can't believe how much has happened already, but then he asks Chrome why she's really doing all this. Chrome says they need to do it to keep the heroes in check, but Juwon isn't buying it. He thinks she has a more personal reason. Chrome denies it as she heads out of the door. Juwon's worried he might have said something wrong. Well, he probably did. Outside, there's a man with silver hair standing. Juwon recognizes him instantly. It's Wilhelm's escort from that disastrous pool party. The man recognizes Chrome's outfit and introduces himself with a smile. His name is Stiletto, but that friendly smile vanishes as he looks past Chrome and locks eyes with Juwon. He says, Lee Juwon, 23 years old. You can copy appearances, right? Uh-oh. With a chilling smile, he asks Juwon why he really came to Wilhelm's party. Juwon tries to deny it, but Stiletto pulls out the receipts. He has CCTV footage of him changing from his female disguise back to normal. He is so busted. Panicking, Juwon tries to play it off as a simple prank. Stiletto's eyes go dark. So you troubled Wilhelm. Are you also trying to trouble by transforming into Justice? Stiletto smirks, telling them he has a very amusing theory about what's really going on here. Then, without warning, he yanks out one of his own teeth. He grins like a maniac while Juwon and Chrome just watch in horror. He holds up the bloody tooth, saying something isn't right as it starts to tremble and change shape in his hand. Suddenly, the tooth erupts in a massive flash of light, hitting Chrome head-on. Juwon screams her name, but it's too late. The light hardens into a giant cocoon, trapping her completely inside. While Juwon is totally distracted, Stiletto's hand morphs into a long, sharp blade. He points that blade right at Juwon's throat, and it's pretty clear he's willing to kill to get the answers he wants. Juwon demands to know what the heck is going on. His partner is trapped in a giant tooth cocoon, so you can't really blame him. Stiletto just calmly says he needs to confirm something. Pretty chill for a guy holding a weapon. See, he's been thinking that Justice has been acting a little weird lately, almost like a completely different person. And even though Justice claimed there was an assassination attempt, the whole story just felt off. Now, to top it all off, Justice's most loyal sidekick is hanging out with a known shapeshifter. The math just ain't mathin'. Yeah, Stiletto's internal alarm bells are screaming right now. Something is way too suspicious. Without another word, he lunges forward, blade flashing. Juwon barely dodges, but not fast enough. The blade leaves a thin, bloody cut on his neck. He stumbles back, clutching his chest. Our boy is completely on the defensive here. Seriously, what is his deal? Why is every single hero he meets trying to immediately kill him? Stiletto stops and points his blade, finally making his accusation. I think you're impersonating justice. How about it? Joan freezes for a beat, then breaks out into a totally manic grin. That sounds like complete bull. Okay, that confident denial actually throws Stiletto for a loop. He looks genuinely surprised. He lets out a sigh. Figured this guy wouldn't confess easily. Looks like he'll have to beat the truth out of him. As Stiletto slowly walks forward, Juan braces himself. Let's get ready to rumble. He knows this guy probably wasn't the real assassin, but that doesn't matter right now. If he admits the truth, his 2 billion paycheck goes up in smoke, and there is no way he's letting that sweet, sweet loot go. Juan throws a punch, but Stiletto blocks it like it's nothing. You suck at using your strength. Your attack is full of holes. Stiletto scoffs. If Juan really had Justice's power, this fight would have been over in a single punch. But Juan just grits his teeth and yells back, I told you it's not true. He's really committed to the bit. You're being too complacent, Stiletto warns, his blade glowing. If you keep holding back to hide your power, you'll die, and bam. He strikes again with a massive downward slash. Juan manages to catch the blade between his hands, with the sharp edge almost at his face. But Stiletto easily overpowers him, kicking him to the ground and pinning him down. He raises his blade for the final blow. But wait, our boy isn't done just yet. With a furious roar, Juan grabs Stiletto's wrists, stopping the attack cold. Stiletto actually looks intrigued. Looks like you don't know about manifestation. Manifestation? Juan has absolutely no idea what this dude is talking about. So, Stiletto drops some lore. Superpowers are tied to human desires. The weak desire strength, while others want the power to lead. He can't believe Juan is this powerful without even knowing the basics. What a total waste of a good ability. You thought you could stop me just by grabbing my hands? Stiletto fires. But that's not the only place they come out of. The extra arms lash out, and Juan has to duck and weave like a madman to avoid getting sliced into confetti. Switching tactics, Juan goes for a tackle. He charges forward and grabs Stiletto by the head, and then he just brutally smashes Stiletto's face into the brick wall behind them. Again and again. Then Stiletto reveals his own trick. What's the hardest part of the human body? The answer is the skull. But the effort makes Juan double over in pain. He looks up and realizes, oh no, well shoot. His face is completely fine. This guy might actually be telling the truth about his powers. Juan's mind starts racing. Until now, he's just been trying to survive and not get caught. He remembers finding Justice's bloody corpse. He remembers being powerless to save his own sister. He hated himself for being weak. But now he has all this power. So what the heck is he doing holding back? Stiletto snaps him out of his dramatic flashback. Hey, I didn't say you could just zone out on me. Juan knows his body is stronger, but winning like this is impossible. There's only one way to do this. He throws a fully powered punch, but Stiletto just sidesteps it like it's nothing. And in the next instant, a sharp blade almost pierces through Juan's shoulder. Yikes. But as the blade rests against his neck, Juan just grins. Who said I was aiming for you? Suddenly, dark purple tendrils erupt from the cocoon behind Stiletto, wrapping around him and trapping him completely. Chrome steps out from the shattered prison. Thanks for that advice, she says. I was getting a bit frustrated too. Stiletto groans, clearly not happy about this. Chrome is getting serious by the minute. You better brace yourself, you bag of bones. It's showtime. Stiletto grunts in frustration as he's wrapped in Chrome's tendrils. You know how to trick others too, huh? He tells Juan. Yep, this boy has some tricks up his sleeve. But Stiletto is unfazed. But I told you, didn't I? That they don't just come out of the hands. Suddenly, bam, vicious claws sprout from his arms, shredding the trap as he lunges forward. Chrome reacts in a split second, sending a storm of sharp shadow tendrils to intercept him. He dodges and weaves through them, but one pierces straight through his chest. Ouch. But it was a feint. He took the hit on purpose to create an opening and hurls the projectile at Chrome's face. The projectile just grazes her cheek, and, oh boy, she is not happy. This bastard. And then it's on. The two engage in a crazy fast flurry of close-quarters combat, their movements a total blur. Stiletto lands a solid hit, forcing Chrome to sink into the ground with her shadow powers to evade his follow-up. Joan is watching from the sidelines, completely floored. No way, they're fighting as equals. Stiletto is already analyzing her entire moveset, noting she attacks from a distance and uses shadows to escape up close. With a plan forming, he does the most normal thing ever and rips out more of his own teeth. Of course he does. He spits them out like high-speed bullets, which explode on impact right near Chrome. Chrome just scoffs. I'm not falling for that trick twice, as she prepares her own counter. She easily deflects them, but in the smoke, Stiletto has completely vanished. Uh-oh, where is he? Suddenly, he appears right above her, and dives straight down for an attack. Chrome tries to counter with shadow blades, but Stiletto is just too fast, landing a brutal kick. He doesn't give her a single second to recover, pressing the attack as she stumbles back. Chrome attempts to trap him with her shadows, but nope. He has another wild card up his sleeve. A cage of sharp bones erupts from his chest, completely shredding her shadow tendrils into nothing. But his big reveal actually gives Chrome a lightbulb moment. That just gave me an idea. She unleashes a massive attack of her own. Try blocking this. This giant shadow beast slams down, devastating the entire rooftop in a huge explosion. Yikes. As the dust settles, Chrome stands there, surveying the absolute destruction she just caused. But Stiletto bursts from the smoke, his arm now encased in bone armor, charging right at her. Jo-won starts to panic, but Chrome calmly tells him, "It's okay, don't worry." Because she's got a shadow spike pointed right at him too. It's a stalemate, folks. Chrome suggests they stop fighting. "It's not like you planned on hitting me anyway." She explains to a very confused Jo-won that Stiletto deliberately missed her with that tooth projectile earlier. With the fight finally over, Chrome cuts to the chase. She wants to know what Stiletto is plotting. He reveals his theory. The assassination attempt on Justice was a lie because the real Justice must have already been killed. And then he pulls out a SIM card, holding video evidence of our boy Jo-won shapeshifting into Justice. Stiletto just grins, knowing that if this gets out, their entire scheme will be completely exposed. But instead of using it as blackmail, he just crushes the SIM card between his fingers. Poof. Jo-won is completely stunned. Wait, wasn't he gonna threaten us with that? Stiletto grinds the remains under his boot. "You know, I think siding with you guys might not be so bad." He smiles warmly, saying, "We're more similar than you think, you see." Chrome is still suspicious, but Stiletto drops a massive bombshell. "Just like you, I'm also a spy from El Condor." And with that one sentence, both Chrome and Jo-won are left completely and utterly speechless. He explains that the hero factions are unbalanced, with Union and Ubermensch hoarding all the power. The other big factions only care about their own selfish interests instead of actually defeating villains. So, he infiltrated the Union to cause chaos from the inside, but he needs allies he can actually trust. The gears are finally turning in Jo-won's head as he slowly understands what Stiletto is getting at. He wants the three of them to get inside Union and flip this whole situation upside down. But Chrome, ever the skeptic, isn't buying it. She wants to know how she can be sure he actually destroyed all the evidence. Stiletto just hits her with a smooth smile. He tells her trusting him is her choice, but he really likes her power and could find plenty of uses for it. So Stiletto draws a line in the sand. If he's not with them, then he's just another competitor they'll have to crush inside the Union. With a smirk that could cut glass, Stiletto fires, saying, "And I'm certain that you guys will lose to me." Chrome is completely shook by this guy's confidence. Anyway, Stiletto hopes for them to see that his skills can actually back up that massive ego of his. Jo-won tries to play the danger card, revealing he's the substitute for the murdered hero Justice, and joining them means getting tangled in that whole mess. But my friend, Stiletto, is built different. He sees it as a bonus, saying, "Yeah, then I can kill the villain who killed Justice, right? Sounds cool to me." And the gears start turning in Jo-won's head. Since El Condor members despise villains, maybe this guy is actually trustworthy after all. Stiletto lays it all out one last time. So, it's a choice. Are you with me or against me? After a silence so tense you could hear a pin drop, Jo-won finally caves. He agrees to hear him out and asks for the plan. And just like that, Stiletto gets his way. Look at that smug grin, he knows he's won them over. Alright, scene change. Our boy Jo-won has successfully infiltrated the Union hero faction as a brand new recruit. He's looking way too proud of himself for his flawless document forgery. What a nerd. He scopes out the other rookies, and let's just say this is a far cry from the disciplined heroes back at Guardian. The vibe here is super casual, with no real dress code. That's because the Union is a commercial group, all about that public image. Suddenly, he sees Chrome approaching, looking like a totally different person in jeans and a white shirt. He can't help but stare. Our boy Jo-won, the master of words, completely blurts out, "I just wanted to say you're indeed a beauty." Chrome is absolutely stunned, and she immediately goes nuclear, calling him disgusting. He quickly backpedals, saying it's just weird seeing her without her usual gloomy aura. Still beat red, she tells him to shut it and storms off, leaving our hero wondering why even his compliments fail. Classic Jo-won. Their attention then gets pulled to a huge crowd snapping pics of a super bubbly blonde girl, another new hero. Anyway, here's the tea. That's Yum Yum, an insanely popular online food streamer making her hero debut. Chrome just scoffs, figuring she's only here to boost her follower count, since Union heroes are basically just influencers with powers. Speak of the devil, Stiletto strolls in with a cheerful wave, right on cue. Jo-won takes a moment to drop some exposition. In the Union, heroes get voting rights on big decisions once they gain enough popularity. So it's not about your skill or experience. It's basically a high school popularity contest, but with superpowers. And he brings up a good point. Since Chrome is from the rival Guardian faction, everyone here already distrusts her, so how is she supposed to get popular? But Stiletto just gives them that sneaky little smile of his and says, "There's a way for everything." A bit later, they're in a lecture hall, getting a lesson from some dude with an eye patch about the nature of their powers, called manifestation. He explains that the same power can manifest in different ways, but every now and then, the whole process goes completely wrong. When that happens, the user can lose control, go on a violent rampage, and get a dangerously massive power boost. He then offers the rookies a shot at some special, hands-on training for this exact task. The room immediately fills with nervous chatter. Seeing 0 volunteers, the instructor sighs. He notes that this is the less aggressive Union faction after all, and gets ready to move on. But wait, our boy Jo-won's hand shoots into the air, volunteering his whole group for the deadly mission. The instructor seems intrigued, while the rest of the class just whispers about what a total psycho he is. Stiletto questions his decision, but then a smirk crosses his face. He figures for someone with Justice's power, this should be a walk in the park. After thinking it over for a solid 2 seconds, Jo-won commits, and Chrome, surprisingly, agrees to the plan. They head to a massive, empty training zone. Chrome explains this place used to belong to Justice and Haste. She asks him why he wanted to come here, and he explains that it's about the difference in their powers. Jo-won actually admits that his big wins against Caesar and Triumph were just pure luck and brute force. He knows he would have lost if the fight dragged on. As blue energy crackles around his fist, he admits Stiletto was right. It's time to do more than just collect a paycheck. He stares at his hand with a brand new determination. It's time to actually get serious and master this insane power. And we flash back to his 18th birthday. A younger, happier Jo-won celebrates with a party popper for his excited little sister. He's playfully swinging his sister Siona around. It was just a perfect family celebration in their backyard. He asks Siona if she wants to see her favorite hero, Absolute, and shows her a picture on his phone. As she watches with wide eyes, he tells her to look closely, and blue energy begins to crackle around him. Bam! In a flash of light, he's standing before her, perfectly disguised as the hero Absolute. Siona is completely amazed. He tells her he practiced just for her, and she cheers that he's the best brother in the world. But the perfect memory is shattered by a horrifying, bloody explosion that erupts right behind them, freezing them in terror. The traumatic memory comes rushing back. A hulking purple villain looms over a terrified Jo-won, who's still in his hero costume. His little sister, Siona, clings to him in fear. He knows in that moment he has to do something, or she'll be next. With a desperate scream, he charges, only to get swatted away like a fly and slammed into a wall. Beaten, his costume gone, he's completely powerless. All he can do is whisper for his sister to run for her life, but it's too late. The monster grabs Siona, its horrifying mouth opening wide as she cries out his name. The flashback ends. Back in the training room, Jo-won channels all that rage and grief into a single punch. He unleashes a massive blast of power, completely shattering the reinforced floor and leaving a giant crater. Chrome can only stare, completely shocked. Flexing his hand in the dust, a confident, almost crazed smirk spreads across his face. I want to do this properly. Meanwhile, in some shadowy control room, a mysterious new guy is typing away. In Union? That's strange, he mutters to himself. His phone buzzes. He answers with a huge grin, confirming he saw the whole thing. He gets up, black sludge dripping from his feet. He walks over to a vault and cranks it open. As he steps in, we hear growling sounds. It seems they're slowly starting to get hungry, he says with a smile, while looking down into a basement filled with red-eyed monsters. That's a wrap on this recap. Hit that subscribe button to help us keep pumping out awesome content. Catch you in the next one.